Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope that y'all are doing well. I guess this is sort of like it's like a vlog slash story time. This is actually like the first story time I've ever had on my YouTube channel. And it's crazy because honestly, like, my whole life could be like a movie or like a book. And I don't say that in like a facetious way. I'm saying like the experiences that I've had in life, no one would believe for real, except like my friends who really know me, and I tell these things to. Or you really would just have to see it to believe it. And I am a risk taker. I am naturally like very adventurous, and I like to try things even at the cost of my self preservance, which is not the best, but this is definitely not a risk that I will be taking again anytime soon. And I have definitely learned not to take trips with strangers. It works for some people, but not for me. This is the second time now where I have not had the best experience with a person that I just kind of met for the first time at the airport. And we decided to take a vacation together. And I made it out alive, don't get me wrong. I'm actually in Belize right now. I probably should have started off with that, but I'm actually in Belize right now. I've been in Belize since like Thursday, and I leave tomorrow morning to go back to New York. My flight is supposed to be like, I think like around like 1, and then I should be in New York around 7 or close to 8. My mom said she's going to pick me up from the airport. But this was definitely an experience for the books, let me tell you. Okay, so let me like basically see if I can start from the beginning. I'm like taking out my 2-strand things right now because I'm gonna go and wash my hair, a much needed hair wash, and then I'll probably like try and like do over my hair again tomorrow when I get back home, like to New York. Okay, so originally I was supposed to come here for Carnival. I never been to Carnival before. Like, I know there's the Trinidad one. I know there's the one that's like in Canada. You know, the one that we have in New York, technically, I guess, if you call it like the Labor Day Parade Carnival. But I've always heard about Carnival, and I always wanted to like experience it and stuff. And so I saw that a lady named Rita. So I was supposed to originally go here with someone named Rita. Rita was like a travel agent or something, right? And so she had posted in like, because I'm in like a few, I don't really have like friends or girlfriends that like travel like that. And if they do, it's mostly just like a road trip or something to like DC or Philly, whatever the case is. And so I saw that someone had posted in this is like, I've been planning this trip for maybe like about a year or something, it feels like. Like, I feel like I started like doing everything from like February close to March, and you know, to plan ahead for September now. And so I saw that she had posted in the group, like, hey, I'm going to Belize for a carnival, is there anyone who would want to go with me? And so we ended up talking, we ended up messaging each other, and she seemed cool at first. She was an older lady. I know that she had like maybe like 2 or 3 kids. She was married and everything, and we would only like kind of talk on the phone like when we were like trying to book the trip. Like, she's the one who kind of like, so, and you know what's crazy? She actually gave me the wrong dates for the carnival. I was supposed to come down here for Carnival, and she gave me the wrong dates. So it was actually September 7th. It wasn't September 17th, which is, you know, today. So she gave me the wrong dates, and she had me take off all these extra days of PTO basically for no reason that I could have been working, you know. But anyway, so we're talking, you know, she's making sure that she's on top of me for like booking the flight, you know, making sure that I take off the PTO and everything, even though it's for the wrong dates. And everything is going pretty well. We don't really necessarily talk about like personal stuff, like getting to know each other and stuff like that, even though if you are going to travel with someone for about a week, you guys probably should be trying to get to know each other in some way. And like, we would talk here and there and like share stories and stuff. And I told her about like my experience with meeting up with a stranger from New Orleans and how that whole thing went. But that's about it. We never really talked about anything too personal or like our family or like, our hopes and dreams and all that stuff. We would only mostly talk to like book the flight or like, pizza or making sure I have like the days off and stuff, whatever the case is. So, like I said, we've been talking about doing this trip since maybe like February. So, fast forward to August now. I haven't heard from her in maybe like in about a month. I haven't heard from her in about a month. I'm calling her, I'm texting her, and I don't get a response. And we haven't booked the room yet, And so I'm just like, so you had me take off the PTO. You had me use my money to book the flight. And then and then I'm trying to book the room so that we have somewhere to stay when we get to Belize. And I can't hear from you. I'm calling her, I'm texting her, no response. And I'm just like, well, what was the point of all of that, And so I was about to just cancel the whole trip, like just get my money back for the flight, because I'm just like, well, I'm not going to Belize by myself. I'm not necessarily a solo traveler. That's my mom thing. My mom likes to solo travel, and she'll go to like Europe by herself, Paris, Amsterdam, like, all these different like road trip states and stuff like that. So that's what she likes to do. She doesn't mind that. She has like her own system with like getting around and making sure she's safe and stuff like that. But me, I'm way too paranoid. I don't like when I don't know where I am. I don't like when I feel like I have no sense of control. And for me, it would be way too nerve-wracking for me to say I'm going to go to Belize by myself and just walk around and be subject to getting kidnapped. I mean, that's really any time you leave your house, but still, And so I was about to just cancel my whole flight. But then my therapist was like, oh, well, you know what? I think that you should still go. Because, you deserve it. You seem like really stressed out from work, and it could be like a good vacation for you. And it's crazy how this vacation turned out to be some stressful ass shit. So So I was supposed to go on vacation to relieve my stress, and ended up giving me more stress. I mean, overall, I did have fun. I will say that. I did enjoy my time here while I was here. I kind of just learned to sort of like make the best out of everything and the people that I was surrounded by, if that makes sense. But, oh Lord, the trials and tribulations, let me fucking tell you. Okay. So the therapist, like I said, suggested that I still go on the trips. I was just like, okay, cool. I'm not going to go by myself, and it would be wrong for me to like ask my friends, hey, like I know it's like a month. I know I'm asking only like a month in advance, but you want to go with me to Belize for like 4 or 5 days? Even though you have kids and work and a job and responsibilities, and I should have told you this from like months in advance. I should have asked you from like months in advance. The person I was supposed to go with, they kind of dropped out. That'd be like, you can't really like tell a person like a month in advance, hey, let's go to Belize. Like, you kind of need time to plan that type of stuff. And so I was just like, okay, well, you know what? Let me take advantage finally of all these travel groups that I'm in, because I'm in like a lot of like Facebook travel groups where like if you want to go on a trip with someone, all you have to do is be like, hey, so like, okay, for example, you could be like, hey, I'm going to Mexico, September 11th to September 18th. Is there anyone who like will be there, or who wants to meet up with me, or who would go with me, and that, whatever the case is. And that's how you find new people to talk to. That's how you make friends, etc. You can like have like meetups and stuff like that. And so I posted in like a travel group. I think it's called Black Women Making Friends, No Need to Go Solo. And so I was just like, hey, something kind of came up, and I was wondering if anyone wanted to be my travel partner for Belize, September 14 to 18. And I have my flight already booked. I have my PTO already off. We just need to book the room. And so, I was willing to like have someone go with me, or probably like meet up with someone, whatever the case is, and we kind of just hang out. And so that's when I met Bridget. And you know how like everyone kind of seems normal at first, like they seem like they have like a good head on their shoulders and everything, and then you really get to know them for who they are. That's how I kind of feel like this situation went, you know? And sometimes you really said that sometimes you really just have to learn to follow your intuition when it comes to things in life. So Bridget commented, she was just like, you know, I'm interested in going. I'm like, okay, cool. And so we were talking on Facebook, and I'm like, okay, so my plan is we're going to get an Airbnb for Belize City from the 14th to the 18th, and we can plan like an itinerary and stuff like that, whatever the case is. And so I noticed that basically she kind of like ended up taking over my whole trip. I mean, I was told, I wanted to stay in Belize City, right, from the 14th to the 18th. But she basically kind of ended up taking over my whole trip and was just like, oh, well, I feel like I want us to travel I want to go to different islands. Like, so there are like a few different islands in Belize. There's like Key Hawker, there's San Pedro, there's Belize City itself, whatever the case is. There's like all these different islands. And so she was like, oh, well, I don't want to just stay in one place. I want to go to different islands. So we can do 2 days over here and 1 night over here, etc., etc. So I was just like, okay, no problem. And so now we're trying to book the Airbnb. And I'm like, okay, well, since you want to go to like multiple islands, I'll send like Airbnb information. So I sent her, information I sent her Airbnbs in San Pedro where she wanted to go. I sent her Airbnb information in Belize City, whatever the case is. And I was just like, all right, I'll let you pick out which Airbnb you'd want to stay at. And then you can either send money to me or I can send you money for my portion of the trip, whatever the case is. And she was like, well, why would we need to send money to each other? And I was just like, well, how else are we going to pay for the Airbnb if I don't send you the money so that we can book the air? Like, I kind of was confused about that. I don't know if like she had wanted me to like pay her in cash, I guess. But I was just like, well, how else would I send you the money for the Airbnb if I don't like cash app it to you or Zelle it to you? I was just kind of confused about that. So, like I said, my first mistake was sort of like kind of letting her like take control of like my whole trip. Basically, it turned into, there's like a dog out there. So basically it turned from my trip to her trip in a sense. And I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna like sort of go with the flow when it comes to this, right? And so we planned everything, whatever. She picked out she says that she paid for the Airbnbs, whatever the case is. And so like the day before everything, like about like 2 days before, that's when she like gives me like the whole plan, like, okay, so we're spending 2 days in this place, we're spending 1 day over here. And then basically I set up she also sent me like an Airbnb. She has sent me like an Airbnb that I can stay at like my last 2 days here. And also it seemed like she was also like a control freak. She was a control freak, and if you didn't do things her way, or if you didn't do like what she wanted you to do, then she would get upset with you and then make it seem like you're the problem. And it happened like a few times. And so I was just like, okay, sure. And so then she was asking me if I have like a driver's license. And I was like, no, I don't have a driver's license. I live in New York, so I'm not going to say there's no reason for me to have a driver's license, but she would just, I'm not going to say there's no reason for me to have a driver's license, but when you live in New York and you take like the subways and the trains and stuff like that, like I just never really had a reason to get a license because I just take the subways and trains everywhere, or I would just Uber everywhere. So I was confused as to like why she was asking me if I have a driver's license. My assumption is that anywhere we're going to, we can just walk to, or we can just get like a taxi or like a Uber. You know what the case is? But she's telling me, oh, I told you from weeks ago that we had to use golf carts to get around everywhere. There is no Uber or Lyft in Belize. You should have gotten your driver's license. How are we supposed to get around? And I was just like, well, I don't know what to say. I don't have a driver's license. I would assume that you have one, right? So that you can just drive us to wherever we're going. You know, whatever the case is. And so we kind of had like an argument about that, you know. And I noticed that also, like, she didn't seem to ever like want to talk to me really. Like I never been in a situation where it's like I'm supposed to like be planning a trip with someone, right? It's supposed to be like the three of us, because it was me, her, and then she said that she was bringing this neighbor named Rosa, right? Because Rita, the original person that I was supposed to go with, who gave me the wrong dates for the carnival, I had texted her like the day before, and I was just like, hey. And so this was also very weird. Sorry, I'm kind of like going in between different stories. So, like I said, I had wanted to go to the Belize from September 14th to September 18th. She decided that like she wanted to come here like 2 days earlier than me because it was cheaper, I guess. So instead of coming here the 14th or the 18th, like, which is what I said that I wanted to do, she decided to book her flight from the 12th to the 17th, right? And I was just like, okay, I mean, I guess if that kind of works for you. If I know that I'm gonna be like alone somewhere in a different country, I'll most likely just end up just staying at the Airbnb anyway, so it doesn't really like matter to me that much. And so she decided to like kind of also do her own thing, like when it comes to like the flights and stuff. She decided that she wants to come to Belize like 2 days earlier than me, and I was just like, okay, cool, you know, if that works for you. Okay. So like I said, I had never met someone where it's like we're supposed to like be trying to plan a trip together, and it seems like I'm a bother, you know, for them to talk to me and communicate with me and let me know what's going on. Because mind you, like human trafficking is like a real thing. So it's like I'm taking the risk essentially of going to like a whole new country by myself outside of America. My mom doesn't know you. My friends don't know you. I really don't know you, to be honest. But I'm taking the risk because I'm just like, okay, well, I already booked a flight. And I've never been to Belize before. So I'm like, okay, like if, you know, at this point, it is what it is. I'm just going to be doing a lot of thoughts and prayers on the flight there. And kind of like hope for the best in a sense, you know? And so it was weird to me because it's like, I'd be trying to communicate with her and like call her and confirm certain things with her. Like, okay, so when I land in Belize, like, are you picking me up at the airport or am I meeting you guys at a hotel? Like, what exactly is the plan here? So that I make sure that, you know, I'm kind of I know where I'm going all the time. And it seemed like she would get upset because I'm texting her and calling her and trying to find out what's going on. She'd be like, listen, I'm on vacation. When I'm on vacation, I don't want to be texting and calling. I don't have my phone on my hip. Like I'm supposed to be having fun in the club, and I'm texting you right now. And I'm like, well, we're supposed to be going on a trip together, right? Like we're both black women in a country that we never been before. You would think that you would like be trying to like look out for me in some type of way, you know, and making sure that I'm safe and sound and I know where I'm going all the time and I'm able to communicate with you and meet up with you, whatever the case is, in case something goes wrong. Like, you know, I'm a human being. I'm someone's daughter. Like, I'm someone's friend. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And she would be like, listen, I already sent you all the information. And so I'm just like, okay, whatever. At this point, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just ready to go on this trip. I'm just really ready to go on this trip. I've been planning it for so long. I just want to go at this point. I just want to go. And so I get to the airport they kind of like fast forward to everything. I finally land in Belize. I'm on the plane and I'm just like, hey, so this is when my flight is coming in, etc., etc. Like, I'll call. So basically she said that she had like an Airbnb kind of like set up in a sense, or like to get in contact with like an Airbnb host, whatever the case is, and they will take me to the water taxi, and that'll take me to Key Cocker, where they were like the first 2 days, I guess, and then we'll be able to meet up and stuff. And so I'm trying to like set everything up and make sure I'm okay, and like, you know, get whatever information I need. And like I said, for some reason she seems to have a problem with me talking on the phone with her. She doesn't want to talk on the phone because she's on vacation. And I'm like, well, I don't know where I'm going. I want to make sure that I know where I'm going and that I'm able to meet up with you guys. You know, we are supposed to be traveling together, right? And she was just like, you know, oh, well, that's not my problem. And I'm just like, is this how you really talk to people? Like, is this how you really travel with people? Like, you just don't have no consideration for the well-being, and you just decide that you want to do your own thing and wander off and like not even speak or communicate with people. Like, it was just so weird to me. And I was just like, you know what, people like you honestly shouldn't be traveling with others. You think you should just go alone and do what you need to do and enjoy life that way. But you have mental problems, for real. I never met someone with like so many severe problems, to be honest. And so, you know, we finally meet up and in Key Cocker. So basically she had me, because my flight was coming in so much later for her, she decided that she didn't want to wait for me anymore. She was just like, instead of waiting for you for 3-4 hours, we're leaving, and you can meet us in Key Cocker. And I'm like, so now this is starting to feel like the Amazing Race, because it's just like, you're making me go through. I'm already exhausted from traveling for so long. I've been up since like 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's like, now you're making me go through like all these freaking twists and turns and hoops and ladders and shit, like just to be able to meet up with you. And it's like, you barely want to keep in contact with me half the time to let me know what's going on. So it's like, all right, so now I'm going to Belize basically by myself. I'm in a whole new country that I've never been in before. And now I have to, instead of you waiting for me, like what the original plan was, now I have to take a water taxi by myself to get to where you are, and hope that you answer your phone so that I'm able to like find you and communicate with you. At this point, I'm just like, okay, like I said, I'm learning to adjust, and I'm really trying to just go with the flow, because I don't know this lady, and she kind of has all the hotel information, because she, you know, she kind of picked the Airbnbs that she wanted to stay at, and she paid for everything. And so that's when I meet her for the first time. That's when I meet her neighbor Rosa, and I guess they're from Colorado, and they're neighbors, and they like go walking together and stuff. And so that's where I met them. And honestly, I really liked Rosa. Rosa is the reason why I really enjoy this trip, and I was able to actually enjoy myself and have fun, because she was actually a nice person. She was actually a kind person, and actually looked out for me and made sure that I was okay. And she was so kind, and she was so sweet. And I'm supposed to be going to Colorado next year, and I cannot wait to visit her, you know, and spend time with her and everything. But she was actually the nice person of the two of them. I don't even know how they of all people could be friends with a person like, you know, Bridget here. But, you know, her and I, we had our own separate conversations. But basically, it was just so much, because the lady like would just be so argumentative. Like, she wanted to argue with everyone about like prices and how much this costs and how much that costs. You know that she almost got the three of us arrested. She almost got the three of us arrested over $10, 10 US dollars. Okay, so I told you how like over here you kind of need golf carts to go everywhere, right? You need golf carts to go everywhere. They don't have like cars and like Ubers and Lyfts and all that stuff the way that we do. Basically, you have to like rent a golf cart to drive around here. That's what everyone does. Just drive a golf cart or like kind of like just take a bike. And so normally, I guess they charge like $20 per person to give people like a tour of like, you know, favorite, you know, like certain places. Like there are a lot of different places that that you could go to, you know. And so, you know, I went to this place called like Split Beach. There was Split Beach because there was like, I guess like a hurricane. There was a hurricane in Belize and it kind of like split an island in half. So there's the north side and then there's the south side. And so I guess so Bridget had wanted us to get like a tour where it's like $75 and the driver drives us around for like 4 hours. So like I said, normally to get like even just like an hour, they would have charged like $20 per person. But Bridget, like, I guess negotiated with her and was going to have us pay like, I guess like $70 for like 4 hours. And I was just like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Or like 70 Belize dollars. So like $1 for them. Okay, no, $1 for us is like $2 over here. And so the lady, I guess, agreed to pay like, the lady agreed to take like $30 for, I guess, like 4 hours. And so then we got to the split. And I guess Bridget, like, so she liked to talk to strangers, right? She liked to talk to strangers and I guess like kind of figure out like what they paid for something, because she kind of feels like, I guess, when you go to like different countries and stuff, like people are trying to like take advantage of like foreigners and stuff like that. And so, you know, she just always wanted to haggle and argue with people over their price. And I was like, Rosa and we would have discussions and I'd be like, girl, you cannot do that everywhere, you know? Like these people, you know, and it's really a lot of places, like they don't go to, you know, college or high school and stuff like that. So this is like their way of living. This is their way of like, you know, providing for themselves and their family. Like they're very hardworking people. So for you to like want to argue with everyone everywhere you go about the price of what you have to pay for something is ridiculous. Like just give them the money that they're asking for. Like if it sounds like ridiculous, then it sounds ridiculous, you know. But I just certain things that is not worth being cheap over, you know. And so, you know, there'd be and so like I said, we were supposed to do like $30-something for like 4 hours of the taxi driver like driving us around to different places. And so then Bridget decided that she only like wanted to do 1 hour. She only wanted to do 1 hour and pay the lady like 40 Belize, which is like $20 for 1 hour. But then she was asking for $20 more, and she didn't want to give it to her. She decided that she didn't want to give her the extra $20, that she felt like that was too much money. And so now she's telling us to get out the cart. And I'm like, what? Now Bridget is telling us to get out the cart because she's not going, because she feels like the driver is asking for too much money. And so now she's telling us to get out the cart because we're just going to walk places. And so now the driver is like pissed off because it's just like, you agreed, because it's like you agreed to this price already with her, so for you to like want to change the price now is insane. And now this lady is like, I'm gonna call the police. And so she did, like she really, and then she kept like, she called the police and she kept like driving along the side of us. And now Bridget and the lady is arguing, and the tour driver is like, oh, this is why, like, you know, like us as black people, we can't get along because, like, you know, you guys want to cheat us, or like, you know, I'm a hardworking woman, you know, that's not fair. You guys want to cheat. This is why we can't get along, or why we can't go forward as people because y'all Americans come here, and want to cheat us and whatever the case is. And so then the police actually come, and Bridget and the tour and the driver and the police, they're kind of all going back and forth. And now we're getting in a cart to go to the police station to set on a price. And I was just like, oh, hell no. I barely want to go to American jail. You think I want to go to Belize jail and sit on a bench? No, hell no. So I said, you know what? Take this little funky $10. Take this little funky $10 so I can go back home in peace. Because I am not going to Belize jail. And I'm not going to tell my mom that I went to Belize jail over $10. She would look at me like I was crazy. And so I gave the driver the money, whatever the case is, and I was just over. And there were just so many examples of that, where her arguments, you just want to argue with people over the price of something or how much something costs, to the point where it's just not even worth it, for a few extra dollars. It was ridiculous. And then she also would just keep leaving me and Rosa to do her own thing, because she would kind of make an argument out of nowhere, and decide that she's upset and she wants to wander off and walk around and do her own thing. And then it's just well, aren't the three of us supposed to be on a trip together? You understand what I'm saying? Aren't the three of us supposed to be on a trip together? So why is it that you keep walking off to kind of do your own thing, and the two of us don't know where we are? We're in a whole new country by ourselves. It was just be very weird. For example, we had we had went to some place called Secret Beach, and I guess she's not necessarily a picture person. And so, Rosa and I, we wanted to walk around and take pictures and stuff and make videos and whatever the case is. And so we put our purses on the chairs, and then because Bridget was right there, she's right there in the water. So I'm assuming that she's going to stay there and watch our stuff for us while we're taking pictures and videos and stuff like that. So then, we're doing our thing, and then we see that she's she came out the water and she took her stuff and she's walking. So we're where are you going? And she's just oh, y'all are walking around and taking pictures and videos, and y'all not have anyone watching your stuff. I'm not watching your stuff for you. I'm not anyone's babysitter. And I was just okay, no problem. So you go ahead. And then again, it'd be situations where it's she kind of just flew off the wall for no reason, and then make it seem like you were the problem. And it would just be way too much. And even long story short, even today, on the boat back to here, Belize City, before they go off to the airport, she would be oh, there are just certain times where you don't really know us like that, and you shouldn't be so trusting, or you need to always make sure. I guess she was trying to have a closing conversation with me, and she it would make me see. I would feel I was a bitch, or I was your mom or something. But you just have to learn to communicate, because I don't have bad energy, whatever the case is. And I was just are you sure about that? She was telling me about how she has sisters and stuff like that. And I was just well, you do a lot of solo traveling. You don't ever want to travel with your sisters and it's a girls trip? And she was just yeah, I've thought about it, but they think that I'm weird, and I wander off and do my own thing, and I don't really being on my phone. And I was just well, you are kind of weird. It's not that they think you're weird, you are weird. And I've observed that, watching you here. I don't know, I wouldn't travel with you. You're not necessarily a nice person. You're always at the drop of a hat, quick to. And I thought that I was a bad just kind of just wander off to do my own thing. I met you know what's crazy? Thinking about it, I feel I kind of looked into the future of what I could be. I know this sounds weird, but I feel low key I looked into the future of what I could be if I continue a certain way, what I could be 20 years from now if I continue a certain way. When it comes to because I was damn, well, I'm a cheap person, and I like to wander off and do my own thing. And I feel like I met like the extreme version of myself like 20 years later, and how unpleasant that was to be around. And the universe was just like, listen, you see where you are right now? You see the spiritual path that you're on right now? Stick to it. Continue being a nice person. Continue being a loving person. Sometimes it's not worth it to try and negotiate and haggle with someone. Learn to stay with the group. When you are on a trip with someone, remember that you guys are together and act like it. Look out for one another. You're doing okay. This is what you could be in 20 years. Don't be that way, you know? You guys have very similar traits. Don't go to the extreme like that, you know? And I feel like it was kind of like a learning lesson to myself, in a sense. I feel like this whole trip has really just been like a spiritual learning experience about traveling with strangers, not letting people take control over what you have planned for yourself, learning to follow your intuition when it comes to certain things, certain people, learning red flags about people, and just learning to have a balance of everything, you know? And just having honest conversations with people. I feel like that's definitely something that I learned from this whole trip. But besides that, there were a lot of different fun things that I did get to do. I'm like almost 40 minutes into the video, and I'm just now getting to like the positive. Holy shit. But yeah, I would say that there was a lot of fun that I did have. I met like so many amazing cool people. Like in Key Cocker, in San Pedro. So in Key Cocker, I actually met these two young ladies. Their names were Wendy and Zania. And 21 and 23, they celebrated their birthdays together that same week. And they actually live in North Carolina, where like my friend Saki lives. I think I had told you guys about him one time. How I had went to North Carolina for like a week in like August last year and stayed with him, and how that was like a whole learning experience in itself. And that's what like kind of like finally made me jumpstart into taking therapy and stuff like that. And so I had met like some really nice people. They were really nice. They were really friendly. We actually ended up like going to a party together that night, you know, to help them celebrate their birthdays and stuff like that. I bought them some shots. Well, I bought the birthday girl a shot. And you know, we were able to talk and stuff, and I found out that Wendy and I are actually like really similar. I think she was the younger one, and we both sell crystals. We both are like into spirituality and stuff like that, and we talked about like how that was for us growing up and like being like holistic and stuff like that. So we have like a lot in common, and I'm definitely going to visit them next year when I go visit my friend Saki. And so I got to meet them. I got to go snorkeling. Well, I've been snorkeling before, but I got to go snorkeling with like, I saw like a sea cow, which is really scary. You think like it's gonna like, you know, swim after you like a whale or some shit. But no, they're actually pretty calm. They don't really like people that much. So I found myself an animal. I'm a sea cow. I don't like how that sounds. Never mind. I'm not a sea cow. That sounds crazy. But I did snorkeling with a sea cow. I got to see like a bunch of like sharks and stingrays and stuff like that. Stingrays are really big. They're almost as big as like your head, probably bigger than your head. And the thing is, you don't even notice that they're under you because there's so many of them. So it's like you have to be careful that you don't like, you know, poke your foot on one of them and you die, because your thing could like just go right through you, you know. And so we got to do that. In San Pedro, I met like this I went to some place called the Secret Beach that I guess is really popular like during like November, December, when like it kind of gets cold for us. People come here, you know, to be around the warm. And I got to go to like the Secret Beach. I got to see like beautiful sunsets on the beach where I was staying in San Pedro for 2 days. I met like this really cool girl. I think her name was Allie, and she lives in Colorado, which is where the two ladies that I was traveling with are from. And she's a photographer. She works like behind the scenes on like, you know, like movies and films and stuff. So we got to talk, and I met like her dad and stuff. And so I definitely want to see if I can visit them next year as well. And so it was like really interesting to meet all these different people and places. You know what's crazy? A lot of people here, like, they look like Spanish, like I guess like regular Spanish from like Mexico or like Dominican Republic and stuff like that, but they don't speak Spanish. They're like grow up in Belize of like the Maya people and like all these different cultures and stuff. So I got to learn about that, got to walk around. do karaoke, just really enjoy water, and just kind of like, well, even though I was going through all this stress, like dealing with Bridget and like all these other things, I still really did enjoy myself. And it was a lot of reflection for me, a lot of reflection and just appreciation for life, appreciation for different cultures, just having like real conversations with people, you know. Overall, I did enjoy myself, I will say, despite like the hiccups and like the person that I went with, you know. I would say overall I did enjoy myself. And I definitely will be coming back next year, either with my mom or with my actual two best girlfriends, you know. And because I actually know them, and I know that they will like look out for me and like communicate with me and stuff. But I am here until tomorrow morning. My flight is like around 1, and then I should be back in New York like around 8 or something, and then I got work on Thursday. You know, the grind never stops. You gotta pay for the trip somehow, right? You gotta pay for the trips. And so, yeah, that was my Belize girls trip from hell. But, you know, I'm still alive. I made it out the flames. I'm still alive, and I definitely will be coming back next year. Thank you guys for listening to my first story time. Thank you for watching me do my hair, essentially. And we will talk. The next video is actually, speaking of my hair, my next video I was thinking is actually going to be me talking about my locks. Like what made me, because a lot of people ask me like what made me grow locks and stuff like that, and they have like questions about it. And so my next video I was thinking was to talk about like my lock journey and like what made me start my locks, like, you know, the different things that I experienced, the hairstylist that I had and what that was like. That should be another story time in itself. And, you know, like, what do I think about the journey? Do I feel like it changed me as a person? Do I feel like it affected me in any way? You know, what are misconceptions that people can have about people with locks? And, like, you know, just how things have been since then. And, like, you know, what I've learned from going on the lock journey and stuff like that. But anyway, to wrap this up, I hope you guys have an amazing day. It is Tuesday over here. And I'll see you guys next time. So, oh, look at my arm fat. Goodbye from Belize City. Until next time, people. I love you guys. Take care.